Hi guys, Dorothy here with Done by Dorothy. We are here today doing part 3 of our cover for our Touch of Nature journal, and we are working on our spine. So that's what we're doing today. So I have my piece of cardstock that we're doing for our head and spine, and I will just run over some measurements here. It is 5 inches wide by 8 3/4 inch long. And then I scored on the 2-inch line, and then again at 3 1/8. So those are the, oh no, I'm sorry, 1 3/8. I'm all backwards. What a day today. Okay, 5 inches by 8 3/4. I scored at 1 3/8 and 3 5/8 were my score marks. Okay, then I marked my lines down the center, and my lines down the center are at 2, 2 5/8, and 3 1/8, and that's going to go, vertical. Then my horizontal lines, I did 1 inch from the top, 1 inch from the bottom, which is 1 inch. Then this is at 4 3/8, and then 7 3/4 inches. And you may have to convert that over into centimeters if you don't measure in centimeters, but that's in inches. So again, all you're going to do is, take the width of your paper, make it a little bit longer than your spine. So if you don't want to do this and you want to do a whole page, you can. Then you score, because this is going to go into here like this. So you want this to score where, it attaches to your pages, and you can fit your spine in the bottom without any extra bulge or anything like that. So that's why I score, because that lets me know, where those corner indents are for my spine. And then you just take that measurement in the center. If I was doing 4, then I would, separate that amount of space between 4. And then I need 3 places that I'm going to sew on my spine to attach my signature. So that's why, and I always drop down about 1 inch and up 1 inch and across, because before we get ready to put this in here, we'll put a fastener on the outside. I want a dangle that I can pin a dangle off of the backside, because I just like that, so that we can attach on and off. So we will do that in a little bit. So the next step, once we have marked all our spaces, is we need to punch our line. And I dropped my stapler. Put it over here out of the way. And I'm going to put this to my smallest, which is going to be my 1/8 inch hole. You know what? Actually, let me grab my tool really fast. If we grab my pokey tool, and I pop the cap off of it, so now I'm trying not to poke myself as I pull it out. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. I was going to use my punch and forgot I meant my pokey tool one of those days. And then all I'm going to do is, if you can see where those lines are versus the line that goes across, I am just going to poke my holes in there, so those holes are already there. And I just try to center them up in between where those lines are. And be careful, you don't want to poke yourself in the hand, and I have done it. So always be cautious. Okay. Then I have to measure here. Okay, I have 1/8 of an inch on each end. So I'm going to use this scrap piece of paper here. Just a scrap. Let me grab my scissors because I want to make sure this is the same height as my other. So let me grab my pencil again and mark off where I need this cut. And then, well, technically, I could hold this right like this and done that. It would have been a lot easier, maybe. Okay. Then I know that my signatures are at 8.5. So I know I've got that 1/8 of an inch difference on each end. So I always like to cut that off because if not, it's too easy when you're putting it in with your signatures to know the difference. And I could do that, but with all the embellishments and stuff, I find it easier to draw my line and cut it. So that'll take off that extra 1/8 of an inch on the top and bottom. Okay. And this doesn't matter if it's uneven or anything like that. I'm just going to divide it in half or just fold it and create a center fold down the middle. Garnish that really good. Okay. Then I'm just going to line, which I sort of like having my line on there because it helps me line up when I'm measuring. Or, you know, if you don't want to do it that way, you can do it this way. So, I mean, it sort of just depends on how you want to do it. I am going to, you know what, let me grab my cutter here and just use it to sort of mark along the edges here. Make sure I line this up here. You know what, my pencil I feel safer with. And I'm just going to use, because it does have those little spaces. So I'm just sort of going to score down my center line. And my paper is really thick. I probably used, my cardstock is probably too thick. I should have used a thinner cardstock for this. Sometimes the thinner cardstock makes it easier. Okay, there we go. So let me move my cutter out of the way here. And then I'm just going to line my paper up, making sure I sort of have that 1/8 of an inch even on both ends. And I'm just going to re-poke through where my holes are. And it's pretty simple to do. I just sort of follow my line in and I know about where it's going to be. And with using this kind of paper, I can actually see the holes. So it helps a lot. Okay. So this is my template I can use inside my signatures to poke. So this can go to the side now. So we're going to start with our, don't want to start with my front or my back. Let's start with the back. This is our front blue. So this was our final signature. So the first thing I do is make sure I run through and, you know, everything's lined up the way that I want it to be. And if I have any like shorter pages, I want to make sure that I get those where they're going to be caught inside the signature. Let me check over here. I think everything's fine in this one. Yep. So we put it here. And this is where I find it really handy to have some of these binder clips, because they really do help. Okay, let me find my center here. Here it is. And again, I'm gonna, okay, then I can take my little centerpiece here, line it up in the center, try to fold everything really good. And then I hold on to it and put my clip on it. And I just, a lot of people, you can use paper clips, you can use the Wonder clips that you use like with quilting and stuff like that. Those work really well too. I like the binder clips. I think they sort of attach a little better. I don't feel like my paper gives as much when I use these. And again, you know, you just make sure you sort of butt everything together so it's all butted up together and even. And then I'll always take my roller or something like that and sort of push down in there. You can sort of create that crease a little bit more. Then I'm just going to take my awl and I'm going to poke through my entire signature. And I find it helps to sort of make the V. And you can use it with, you can use like a book to poke it in if you want. I've done it for a while, so I find myself, I still do it this way. Although using a book or a catalog or something like that works really well too. You just have to be very, very cautious of your fingers when you're doing this. Make sure I push it down through there really well. Then I just flip my little clip thing up and sort of squeeze it a little bit, and I can pull that right out. But it still holds my signature together. And I think I got these from the Dollar Tree. They were part of like a little gift set type thing. And I just sort of make sure they're in there again. That's okay. And I mean, you can, the hole straight through there. So, and I've got a needle that has the bigger eye that I can fit my thread through. And I usually just go about 2 and not quite a half, like 2 1/4 is usually 2 1/2, 2 1/4. I mean, it just sort of depends on the amount of space that I feel like I have. And I'll put this in here out of the way. Then I'm going to start in the middle, going out. So I always just find it's easier to just grab my needle and sort of feed my page on there. And then I pull it through, and I'm going to try to stay on camera with you guys. And then I'll just grab that and sort of hold it down. Okay. Then I'll go through the top. And again, the first one sort of, the more you do it, the easier it gets. And you may have to set it down and sort of feed your needle through there. Just make sure when you get ready to pull that you're holding that end, because if not, then it pulls it in and you got to start all over again. And nobody wants to start all over again. And then I just make sure I sort of pull it tight. Okay. Then I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom hole. And that just landed straight through there like that. I mean, see, that's, you have it wound up. Okay. Then I'm going to have my one short end in here too. So let me move my needle up a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to make sure I hold this. I'm going to pull that pretty tight because you want your signatures to be held in. You don't want them to be super loose. Okay. I mean, that feels like it's pretty tight. Then I'm going to go back through the center again. Okay. Then when I come through the center, I want to put the one end on one side, and then the new end I'm bringing up on the other side. And I always try to have one shorter end and then one longer end. So I'll take the longer one, wrap it around, and I'm just going to tie a square knot over it. And because this is waxed thread, it will tighten down and sort of glue itself to itself. Okay. Then I like having the one longer one to put a charm on. That's why I like it longer. And then this shorter one, I usually cut off about 1/4 of an inch away. And then I can sort of fold it down on where the string is. And then I use the end of my pokey tool. It's just a really flat plastic end, and push it down, and that sort of glues that there. Okay, so we have our last signature end. So I can go ahead, now that it's in, I take my clips off. So you only need 4, so you don't have to buy a big pack. I mean, I have a whole jar full because I happen to buy a big container full. So I just happen to be that. And then once I put it in there, and this is our last signature, I sort of like push it down, sort of, and then I run through the pages, just double checking, making sure everything's attached. Like, see, even that got caught really good. I try to make sure all of my pages are caught in at least 2. Because if not, then, you know, they'll wibble wobble. But this is in really good and tight so far. So see, we got there and there. I love how that came out. The watercolor painting did. Came out really good. And then you can go through, you know, and see there's that cast off of that one. And our envelope is in there. Let's see, I think that page caught really good. So, you know, always go through and double check. Because if not, then, you know, you need to find a way to attach it. Yes, that attached in perfectly. Great. Yay. We like when it works that way. Okay. So I'm going to, again, pull out my, right about the same length that I had before. That 2 1/4 seemed like it worked really great for this one. I mean, and it just sort of depends on what all you're doing. So there's 2 1/4 there. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and cut the one for the other one too. Have it done. And I got this wax thread from Edwin Calger. He has Ed's Emporium, I think is what it is, on Etsy. If you check it out, that's where I got that from. I will try to look up and see if I can find the link for that for you and put it in the description box if I remember. If not, I think it's in like Ed's Emporium is what it's under. I know on the, let's let's see, the Wednesday, a wonderful Wednesday we did this past week. I know that the link was in the chat there, so if I forget, you can find it there. Okay. So that one's in. Let's move to our second one. Second one's a big boy. So pull that to the side. And again, we're going to go through and make sure everything is caught. See, we need to make sure we get that caught in too. So it either needs to go up or down. So I'm going to, actually, let's put that up more towards the top. Just to add a little bit more there. There you go. Okay. I think most of these are like really close to full pages, so they're not so bad. Or, you know, they're bigger where I don't really have to worry about catching them. Okay, I'm going to pull this out right now because this is going to go in here, which means I'm going to have to make sure that I catch that. So we'll make sure we grab that in the middle. And that's the middle one. So the rest of these should be wound up. It should be about in the right place. Make sure to put that in there. Okay. That's in the right place. Okay. So let me grab this or box this in a little bit more. Now that we have everything where we need it. Okay. And I'm actually going to slide my envelope, instead of having it in the middle, slightly to the bottom so it will catch when we clip. And again, sometimes you have to double check these because I can tell looking that that one page was a little bit off. Okay. Okay. Get that side. And then we'll get this side, and we'll have to make sure we get that when we go to flip our other side in. And that'll sort of help hold the envelope in there. Okay. I'm going to put this in here. And again, we're just sort of repeating the same exact steps that we did for the last one. And I'm just going to make sure that that's sort of tucked in. If I need to readjust, we will, because sometimes when you first put those in, after you put the others in, they buckle a little bit. So to have that, make sure I fold it because I find it makes it easier to come out on the ends like that. I'm sorry if my head gets in the way. I'm trying to keep an eye on this to make sure it comes out evenly. And then I always try to move it back and forth some, just sort of, you know, making sure that hole's in there really good. Just makes it easier, I think, sometimes. There we go. Okay. There we go. I'll move this one up a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to grab our thread, and again, we're going to start and go through the middle And again, make sure that I'm sort of holding that down. Oopsie. Okay. Then I'm going to go back through this hole. It went right through the middle. Oh, you know what? Let's not do that. I'm going to pull that back out. It helps if you put it in your... You can put it on your spine here. It was like, I thought it felt funny. I was like, that's sort of weird. Okay. Then we're going to go back through this bottom and find our little bottom hole there to go through. And again, remember to hold your string when you go to tighten it down. I did pull it pretty tight. Although you really don't have to put it. Oh, see, that went straight through. That is nice when they line up like that. It makes it really easy when you don't have to sit and struggle with it because it doesn't line up. And I've had it do that. Then I'm going to go straight through the center again. Okay. And then again, remember we want to make sure that our needle comes up on the opposite side of that thread, right like that. So I'll hold that, so I'll have to pull it and tighten it back down again. And I pull mine pretty tight. I know a lot of people don't. I don't want mine to have that. And I mean, you can snap mine pretty tight. I like it like that. I don't like it where it's really loose. And then again, I'm just going to tie a square knot. I'll go under and over both ways. Then I chop it off with about a quarter of an inch. Then again, I'll press it into there really good to make sure it sort of adheres. And this will go down like this. Pop this off, pop this off, pop this off, pop this off. Before I lose my needle, I will go ahead and rethread my string on it, because I'm one of those, if there's a needle sitting around without a string on it, it'll be on the floor and in my foot, and or on the floor, and I have hardwood floors, so it doesn't get buried in the carpet, but I end up losing it. Okay. So let's double check our signature. Put it over. Got attached really good. Oh, there's our little page attached in there really good, just like we wanted it to, which is awesome. Little notebooks in there. And I love this because, I mean, I left a lot of journaling space in this. I know a lot of times people are like, well, you know, there's not enough journaling space. And like, there's quite a bit, and a place for you to put a photo and right on there. So there's quite a bit of space. And we can slide our little insert right back in there. There we go. See, that'll just be on the other side. And you could glue this down, cut this side, and, you know, make it where I could put the insert from the side. But I sort of like having the envelope open like that. Sort of, you know, leave something for if you want to do it. And a little postcard in there. And I'll do a complete flip through. In the next video, depending on time wise, what's going on with this one. So there we go. Lots of space in there. That's the back one. So, yep. And we still haven't put our lace on the edges. So the lace on the edges, the cover, and the flip through are decorating the outside cover, and the lace and the flip through will all be in the final video. So last signature, let's work on getting this. This is the orange one. I liked the signature, and I'm not a fan of orange, but I really liked how the orange came through on this. Loved that envelope with the okay. I think most of these are larger too, so we don't have a lot of small things to worry about. Yeah. Okay. Again, I always try to sort of move it around, and it's sort of bulky. And there's our center. So let's put our page in here. And again, we're going to follow this the same way. Let me get my thread out here and make sure, oh, see that first one you always put in always goes googly. I don't know why it does that. It just always seems like it does. And it's always the very first one I put in, I guess maybe because when you first put it in, you do it too tight. Maybe, I don't know. Let me put this in here like this. There we go. Okay. So again, I'm going to start in my middle. Oh, you know, it helps if you punch it first. You get so excited about getting them in that you don't pay attention to what you're doing. Okay. And once you've done a couple, they get a lot easier. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that through so I can grab that end. And again, I'm going to grab this one's probably, to me, is one of the most difficult ones because you've already got that two underneath of them, so you have to sort of wrestle, you know, with them plus the one you're putting in. Okay, so hold that. Oops, let me grab that end and hold that end. Okay, then try to put my needle through the bottom. Like I said, you know, after you've did this a couple times, it does get easier. At first, it's more confusing trying to figure out exactly what you're doing. Okay, and then I'm gonna get that through there and through that hole. Pull it through, and then I'm gonna sort of pull it tight so that big long string stays tight. And then the center one we can tighten up when the other one gets in there. And this final center one is like the harder of the bunch to do because you're trying to make sure you get it all the way through and not get in the way of the other thing. And come up on the opposite side. Okay, I'm going to pull this tight, pull this one tight. I always look through and make sure you've got everything right side up because before you tie it in. Okay. Then while you're holding it sort of tight. I'm sorry if I'm in the camera and you guys can't really see. Let me go under it. In a square knot, you go, you tie from the top the first time, tie from the bottom the second time. So you're creating a square. Okay. And again, I like pinching that down and through there just so it sort of sticks with that and it keeps it from poking up out of the middle. Then you just have your charm ends hanging out. Okay. Oh, you know what I did, guys? I did. Which, if you use a cardstock thing to poke your holes, it makes it harder. I forgot to take mine out, but I did use just a piece of coffee dyed. So if, you know, you don't want to have to worry about trying to take that off and then flip it, and you do like that, you can just pull it through right like that. That comes right off, and I don't have to worry about it. And it's scrap that I can reuse anyway. So I'm not really, you know, losing anything per se. Because, you know, we all use scrap paper anyway. So, and this is wide enough. You can do, you know, you could do a belly band, you know, just a little tuck spot across the bottom or whatever. Okay, so let's go to the front and check through it, make sure everything attached really well. And I always do this just sort of as a flip through to make sure everything's tucked the way that it should go. I loved that page. It's probably one of my favorite pages, but okay. So we have it in. So this is what our spine looks like on the end. And you can see all of our strings are pretty tight. Okay. And you can see, I mean, it's pretty chunky. You're talking, if you hold the ruler the right way, it helps. 2 3/4 inches or so, 2 1/4 or so. So it'll fit just perfect. Okay. Then I am going to bring my cover over, and I need to figure out what side I want to use for front, what I want to use for back. And you can hear it does have a crunch to it. It is a pretty hefty, even though I flattened it, it still has a little bit. I actually think I want this one for the front. Yep, I like that for the front. So I can pull this up now. And any of that paper that doesn't come off where and if you remember, this is from, you know, when we made the original cover. And these do come off. You just have to, this is where we scored down through there to make sure it would bend really good. So you just have to sort of pick it a little bit and and you can get it to come up. And if it does get stuck, it doesn't really hurt anything. I mean, really bad, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, I am going to use my Fabri-Tac. I just find that for this, I think Fabri-Tac is more of does a better, I don't know, a more firmer grasp, I guess. And I had to two-hand squeeze this because my Fabri-Tac is all, this lid has been horrid from day one. And you want to make sure you do a pretty thick coat. For this, you don't want to do just a little bit. And I always actually run a small bit up the little fold on both sides. Not enough to, you know, adhere my paper down in there all the way, but enough that it does grasp it and do a nice little you know what I have. Where did it go? I have a really nice silicone brush I'll use for this. It might be a little easier. Let me just, if I can get it unscrewed. And then this silicone brush really helps sort of flatten it out so you don't have that big, huge, blocky amount everywhere. But it really helps so you're getting more coating everywhere. Okay. It's over here. Let me, oh, there's a little part right in there that I probably could use a little bit more without trying to make a mess. Oop, not that much. You guys didn't see me do that, did you? Well, this will go in really good because I'm trying to keep a lot of that out of that. I can do a little bit above past the side because I know I've got that extra paper that's going to go on there, and it's that cardstock that's going to cover that we put on there. I'm just putting a small amount there because I can go back through with art glitter glue and attach that because it's paper to paper, so I know it'll stick pretty good. Okay, that. I'm going to grab this, making sure I'm going to sort of grab my strings and pull them up just into the center. Looks like that one that didn't want to go. There we go. And then I just line it up to the best of my ability with the page that I have to my covers in the front because it's the same width. So I know if I can get that, and Fabri-Tac does give you a little bit of time to get things measured up right. And that seems about right there on that side. And this is just my roller. I'm just using to sort of push that down into that joint right there. And I'm going to flip this over here. Make sure I have this lined up. Squeeze over just a tad bit. Okay. I know a lot of people will, use a burnishing tool. That kind of thing. I actually like to use my hands. This sometimes feel like it gets a better, sort of somewhat of a better contact. I can control, I'm pushing pretty hard here, so it's getting pretty good. And I can sort of push that base over a little bit. So I'm getting up underneath the journal too. There we go. We have that. And I'm gonna put my lid back on here. And then I'm going to grab my glitter glue. I'm going to come in here because I can grab up in here right on the edge. And I can make sure this is, has a really good coat of glue on it. And remember, this is just my base on my cover. I actually have my decorated inside that we've still got to do. And art glitter glue does dry clear, so if you have some seepage, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about the pencil lines that you draw on there. Because I run lace between each of my signatures. That's just something that I do. If you want to, you can go through and erase if you've used pencil. Again, that's not necessary, so but you can. And I mean, it will, you know, it'll come off because of being pencil. So you have to worry about that. So that side's done. Flip this over this way. Flip it up like this. And again, I run just a little bit along the edge. And then make sure I put a really good coat, because I do want to make sure that this is going to stick. I mean, because, you know, this is the part of your journal you're going to get the most wear and tear is on the spine where you're opening the covers. And again, I mean, you can erase the pencil marks if you feel like that's something you need to do. And I do sort of try to rub that glue down along there so it doesn't stick to nothing. Okay, let me put my little stopper in here. Okay. And yep, I do. I thought I had it turned upside down. So is it? Get some art glitter glue popping out through there. And you may have to go through and sort of slide things around and move it around, which is the really cool thing with doing Fabri-Tac, is you do have some time for it to dry. So I'm going to leave this set open and let it set for a little bit and dry. I have all my little tie things here all, let's see, there's the other one. So pull those back down. So I have my charms hanging. Yeah, so I mean, it's quite a lot of pages. Isn't it cute? So I'm done there. I do have to, we didn't put our little clamp in here, so I'm going to do we're going to do a charm that hangs that you can move around, almost as like a bookmark charm. And again, I'm just sort of going through on the one end, on the ends where you bend, you do have to make sure you sort of put some pressure on those. I'll go check on the other end, because that's where, if it's going to come loose, that's where it's going to come loose. And if you need to, you know, squirt a little more glue in there, then you can do that. And I think I will put a little bit of art glitter glue down here in this one hole. I have one little thing that keeps just a tad little drop. Yep, and so that was just enough to stick it down. I just needed that little drop. So that is that. Again, we'll be coming through and my staple came loose. I busted it loose. So I grabbed onto it and pulled on it really hard, which probably isn't a good thing to do, you know, since it is just a staple through paper. The whole grabbing and jerking on it is not a wise thing to do. I'll put two in there this time, make sure it's extra. There we go. We will come through and like through here. I'll pull out some lace, and I like to put lace in mine through there. I just think it adds sort of cuteness, and you have your journals are always wider at the end and thinner up here, so it sort of like, I don't know, evens it out to me some. We'll do our decorative covers on the inside. We're going to put a grommet on the back and a fastener on the front to tie off, and our ribbons, and we will decorate the front. See, that needs some more glue. Find that spot. Where was it at? There it is. There's just one little spot that you don't see it sometimes until, which is why I always let mine dry and then double check them and then You know, if I need to add some more glue in, then I will. It's just on the very end where the glue sort of squeeged out. And if I wiped it and it all squeeged out, it didn't hold it really good. So there is that. And we'll add our charms. We're really, really close. I know we're running a little late this month because normally on the 1st I start a new one. This one's went in because we've had horrid storms and electric issues, and the internet has been horrid to try to do videos to upload them or anything, and I've struggled to get them uploaded. But so far, this is what we've got done. So if we bleed into another month, that's fine. I mean, we don't have a set guaranteed. This is what we're doing every month. What I'll do is we will just start when I get this done, which we have. I'll try to do the next video. We'll try to finish up everything on the next video. It may be 2. I will try to maybe try to get one posted tomorrow and one the next day, Tuesday and Wednesday, and round it up, and then do start on the beginning of the recipe journal. And if it leaks into May, then that's fine. Then we'll just do a couple smaller projects in May with a journal. So that's what we'll do, is we'll just do a couple small ones, finish up the journal, and do it that way. But yeah, so far, this is what our top looks like. I'm going to put some more glue there. But that's our top and our sides. Of course, we still have our lace to get in there, but we do have some little tabs and stuff on there. And you can add more tags. And there's the bottom. There's our little charms. So yeah, we're working right along. So I will be back tomorrow, and we'll do the lace in between, decorate the inside covers, the fasteners, put lace on the pages, and hopefully do the cover. We'll do the dangly bookmark and the cover. We'll try to do all that tomorrow. I have things set out and sort of so we can just bust through it really fast. I'll sort of pre-prep and cut my laces so they're already to size so we can just glue them in. So we will be back tomorrow to finish that off. You know, thanks for hanging around in there these days when things are not all that great. And, you know, we do have a lot of issues uploading and internet issues and internet overload and everything else with everything going on. So anyway, so you guys stay healthy, be safe, and we will see you again tomorrow. Bye.